Welcome to the channel, guys. My name is Jess. So with the federal interest rate decision just about 2 days away, Bitcoin's next week of price action could determine the macro trajectory for months to come. So let's dive into the video today to talk about the most recent weekly candle close and what it means, as well as developments on the daily chart and short time frame that suggest that Bitcoin is in a critical position moving forward. Before we get into all that though, make sure you guys smash that like button and subscribe to the channel to get regular Bitcoin analysis every Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday. If you're after even more content, be sure to check out my free Telegram channel for daily updates as well as crypto and economic news. And if you're interested in my VIP channel, you can get more details over here. VIP gives you exclusive access to my personal trading setups with exact entry points, targets, and stop losses. Alrighty guys, so let's start off with a little bit of context, the macro context on the price action before we dive into our analysis. So as you guys probably all know, over the last 6-month period, Bitcoin has been traveling in a massive descending channel structure, right? It has been a huge channel of consolidation that started all the way back in March when we topped out at $73,000. So while we travel within this massive channel here, the key question is this, period of consolidation, is this last 6 months of technically sideways chop, a representation of slow accumulation and leading to eventually what would be a bullish break that sends Bitcoin above this upper trend line here in that descending channel and into a high time frame bullish continuation, right? That bullish continuation would be, if we took, pattern structure, for example, as the projection use, that would take us around to $85,000, right? Being this bull flag pattern leading to a breakout, and that breakout being generally the height of the flag. Or on the flip side, is this massive channel of consolidation a representation of bullish exhaustion after topping out at $73,000? And is it going to lead then to the opposite situation, a breakdown of our lower trend line here and the start of a high time frame bearish continuation, or high time frame, bear market, and confirming to us that Bitcoin topped out here in the 2024 bull run at $73,000. That is really the huge macro context that we have here moving forward. Now, in the most recent price action, Bitcoin in the last 2 weeks has had a range low retest. We know that down here. Bitcoin flashed all the way down to 52,500, and over the last 2-week period, it has been traveling in a short time frame uptrend as we approach the key dynamic level of resistance here at the midline of the channel. Now, as we approach this key level of resistance here, that really blocks us from moving into this upper half of the channel and taking us into, retest the upper trend line here. We also have a very, very huge piece of economic news coming out, and that being the interest rate decision. Now, for those of you guys in Australia, that news comes out at 4 a.m. on the 19th of September, and the probability of a rate cut is at 100% as per FedWatch. And so the really big question is actually whether or not we get a 25 or a 50 basis point cut. As per Trading Economics, the current consensus and forecast is at 5.25. I think there is about a slight chance for that 50 basis point cut. I think it's 47%. Probability, which is still pretty high, but it's not the general consensus or the forecast. So we can see the significance of the next week of price action mapped out here on Bitcoin as well. So not only do we have the federal interest rate decision coming up, but if we take a look at the RSI, not only have we had a downtrend in the price action over the last couple of months from those lower highs over here, but we've had a corresponding downtrend developed here on the RSI, representing the decrease in buying pressure and increasing selling pressure moving throughout this 6-month period, essentially mapping out, some bullish exhaustion here. We're mapping out the fact that we have seen decreasing bullish momentum over the last 6-month period. So as Bitcoin approaches the apex of this RSI here, the top being that downtrend and the bottom being the point on the RSI or on the oscillator, that 44.81 point, the green line, that is the same as, or the same point that Bitcoin was in all the way in October when we started the bull market. So Bitcoin here either drops bullish momentum below pre-bull market levels or breaks out of this downtrend here and signals a high probability to move up and retest the upper trend line here in our macro descending channel, and that is where we can potentially expect a bullish break and bullish continuation. So as Bitcoin continues to develop and, consolidate within this massive channel of consolidation, and we continue to move within the downtrend as well, we approach this sort of apex period where the price action starts to become very critical, because the movement room between our downtrend here and the bottom here at 44.81 becomes quite small, right? Very, very small fluctuations or smaller fluctuations in the price action are going to have much larger impacts. We can see that with every single range low retest, we have gotten lower and lower and closer to retesting that 44.81 point on the RSI, or potentially even falling below. The last one, where we retested at $52.5 thousand, saw the largest dip in momentum on a weekly time frame, even though we didn't even send the price all that low. In comparison to that prior, range low retest, we went all the way down to $49,000, right? So as we approach that kind of critical apex period, the price action for Bitcoin and downwards movements here do have a very, very sort of high significance, especially if we do end up getting another range low retest there. It is very likely that Bitcoin potentially does drop actually below that 44.1 point on the oscillator this time. Now, obviously the RSI closing below 44.81 isn't going to be, guarantee that Bitcoin is going to enter a bear market. But what it does tell us then is that on this next range low retest, it is very likely that Bitcoin moves into this next liquidity zone over here and moving in to retest sell side liquidity at $49,000, because we've seen such a massive bearish shift in momentum there, right? Where we're going on to retest those critical levels rather than seeing that, really strong bounce there from the bottom. It's more likely, because of that shift, that we're going to see a bearish continuation. But that bearish continuation isn't going to lead to a high time frame bear market unless we see a weekly candle close below sell side liquidity here at $49,000. That is when we have confirmed the loss of our key macro structure, and that sort of invalidation on a weekly time frame is quite likely then to take us into this next base of high time frame support, sitting at around $46,000. We have more confirmation that the next period of price action is extremely crucial as well. If we take a look at the weekly close at, in correspondence to the Ichimoku as well. So we pull that up, we can see that our most recent weekly candle close has showed us that Bitcoin has had a really nice strong bounce here from our leading span A, the top of our Kumo cloud here, that green line. And what that tells us is, moving forward, while we hold support at the leading span A, and support is support until it's not, that Bitcoin has a much higher probability here of continuing in a bullish trajectory rather than falling into the cloud and retesting the leading span B, which has perfect confluence with that same sell side liquidity point, wherein a weekly candle close below the leading span B has historically represented or confirmed the start of a high time frame bullish trajectory, or aka a bear market, right? So if you take a look at the way that that leading span A is moving in relativity, I guess, to the macro descending channel structure, we can see that that next range low retest here falls into the cloud. And falling into the cloud, we have a high probability then of moving into that next level of support there, being that leading span B. So you guys can kind of see how, all these charts are telling us that in this current circumstance, Bitcoin really does need to be continuing on in quite a bullish trajectory or some degree of uptrend. And the buyers need to be successfully defending that range low area of support and moving away from that moving forward. So moving over onto the daily chart, let's talk about what we need to see in order for a bullish continuation into this range high region over here. And conversely, what's going to be our warning sign that we are going to see at that range low retest and why it's so important. Before we do though, let's hear a quick word from our sponsor, Bitunix. Bitunix is an emerging cryptocurrency exchange committed to providing you with a secure, convenient, and highly functional trading and investment platform. Available across all countries as a non-KYC exchange, get global access to over 150 trading pairs with minimal fees on both spot and futures contracts. Join today to get $5,500 in sign-up rewards and get 15% off all of your trading fees by signing up using the link in my bio or by using the code 1GG3 when you create your account. So if we move over onto the daily chart, we can see that over the last 2-month period, Bitcoin has been traveling in somewhat of a symmetrical triangle formation, characterized by these lower highs here as we approach that upper half of resistance and higher lows on each range low retest of our descending channel structure. So what this symmetrical triangle tells us is that, unfortunately, because it is a bearish pattern structure, on retest of this lower trend line over here, which has confluence with that lower level of support at $53.4 thousand, that we have a higher probability of seeing a bearish breakdown of that lower trend line in comparison to a breakout of our trend line on the top side. So that pretty much answers your question in terms of a bullish continuation, right? The first thing that we need to see to facilitate a bullish continuation here on a higher time frame chart is a breakout of this upper downtrend. And this upper downtrend has confluence with a lot of other key levels of resistance here. Firstly, being that midline level of support, that blue dotted trend line. And I've talked about that at the start of my video, if you guys remember. And consistently, essentially above the midline, we have facilitated a move to the range high, and falling below and rejecting off the midline, we generally see the opposite, a range low retest. So not only will Bitcoin need to break above our key downtrend, our midline, but also its horizontal level of confluence, this resistance here ranging from $60,000 to $61.8 thousand. Again, we can see that the daily candle closes above that level of resistance, particularly at 61.8, has generally facilitated that bullish continuation to the range high as well, and falling below that level of support here has resulted in a bearish continuation. So currently on the short time frame, we can see that Bitcoin is retesting its major level of support at $58,000, as well as the short time frame uptrend and the 50 SMA on the 4-hour chart. So if we end up losing all these levels of support and our bullish validations here on the short time frame, what Bitcoin is going to do is then move into the next key range of support, being $56,000. Now on a daily time frame, 56K is the final level of support that we have here before we're closing below. Bitcoin will move into the next key level of horizontal significance, being 53.4 thousand. And that is the same level where Bitcoin goes to retest our lower trend line here in the asymmetrical triangular structure, as well as falling into this liquidity zone over here, where a daily candle close below generally facilitates a move into the zone, and a retest of the lower end of that zone being $49,000, the sell side liquidity level, and falling below the macro structure. So the very first thing that we're going to see now to signal that bearish continuation is going to be the loss of our short time frame bullish validations here, but also, and more importantly, the loss of this 56K level of support, including sell-side liquidity at 55,500. So if we fall below that level on the short time frame, we do have one more level of support down here at 54.6K. But even then, we really have just started to test the top there of that structure. So the key level of support that we have in terms of bullish continuation is going to be that lower level at 56K. Falling below there, that is when the bearish case scenario and the probabilities of seeing a range low retest start to become a little bit more, or a lot more probable, right? A lot more certain. So moving into our short time frame analysis, guys. So Bitcoin is currently sitting at support, right? We have our 50 SMA, we have our key short time frame uptrend, but most importantly, we have our horizontal level over here. So while Bitcoin holds 58K support and also the sell side liquidity here on the 4-hour time frame at 57,600, we can expect some degree of bullish continuation. Support is support until it's not. But after losing those levels, as I've already discussed, we can expect a bearish continuation here to the next level of support at $56,000. And if we do not get that full move to 56K, at the very least, a move to fill this volume gap over here, and to the apex of that volume gap being 57,300. If we move over onto the very small time frames, for example, the 15-minute chart, we can see that we do have a fair bit of bullish divergence. So it does suggest that Bitcoin should be bouncing here and finding support here on the smaller time frames. Let me just pull that up. So over here we can see these lower lows, right on the chart, and we can also see high highs. We have a little bit of bullish divergence here, suggesting that the buyers are trying to defend this level of support. We are seeing a push upwards in bullish momentum, but moving into federal interest rate decisions and economic data, the short time frame price action is generally very, very volatile. If we take a look historically at the last couple of months of economic data, or the federal interest rate decision in particular, we've seen generally around 2 to 3 days of bearish price action preceding the news event. And we can see it as well on momentum. We generally see quite a sharp drop in bullish momentum right before the event. And then, you know, the news comes out and it takes a couple of days for the market to fully price in all that information. And then we continue to move as per whatever the charts is suggesting at that time. Alrighty guys, that is all the analysis that I have for you today. If you enjoyed the video or you learned something, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to the channel. If you're after even more content, be sure to check out my free Telegram for daily updates as well as crypto and economic news. And if you're interested in my VIP channel, you can get more details over here. VIP gives you exclusive access to my personal trading setups with exact entry points, targets, and stop losses. And if you are a trader, don't forget to get 15% off all of your trading fees by signing up down below to Bitunix. I hope you guys have a great week, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!